Hi everyone, welcome back to Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I am hopping with the grads of Team Tiny. Let's jump right into my card. I am using a digital image. I printed it out onto Copic Express It cardstock, and I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. If you are not a fan of Copic coloring, don't worry, just skip through the video. This is a very color intensive video. I don't do very many of them, but when Sin had suggested this hop and I knew that I wanted to do something that was a little bit more regional, I had been doing snow cards, and this is my first winter back in the West. I am happy as a clam, and I wanted to do something that represented where I was from. Cactus are in Nevada. I am in the desert, and I thought that this was a fantastic image. This image is drawn by Sean. I am going to list her Instagram account as well as her Etsy store. Her Etsy store is, oh my goodness, it's called Streamside Studios, and she has some amazing images. I would really suggest that you head over there and check out both her Instagram, which she does a lot of coloring. She is a very talented artist, and her images are so adorable. I mean, look at this little cacti. Is that not the cutest little face? I decided that I wanted all of my cactus to be different colors, so they are going to be different shades of green. I started off with some YG markers. I used YG13 and YG13. I also brought in a little bit of a YG25 to add a little bit more depth. And as I said, if you're looking for Copic instruction, you don't want to look at me. You want to go see Mindy Baxter or Sandy Allnock or Kathy Rakusin. They are all colorists. I just dabble in this. I love to color, especially when I have such cute images. So the way that I chose to color this is I added the depth from the top to the bottom. So there's deeper colors where the ears are. The ears, that's what I'm calling them, but they're actually the little buns of the cactus, and I am adding it where those meet the round part of the barrel. And then I'm also adding depth from the bottom and the top. I blend it out with my mid-tone, and I add a little bit of the shadowing on the left and the right side, just a very, very, very thin line on the left and the right side. Most of my shadowing is at the top because those little round buns are meeting the top of that head, and then also from the bottom because it would be shadowed by the roundness of that barrel. Here I'm using deeper colors. As you can see, I decided to go with the YG90s. All of the caps are shown so that you can see what color I used. I do make sure that I leave some white space in the center, so I do a couple coats of the dark and the mid-tone, leave the middle white, and then I end up going over it with my lightest, which is going to be, I believe, a YG91. And I did add a little bit of shadowing to that top one because you do have the middle one sitting out towards the front. For the hats, I colored them using my favorite Copic combination. I did use the R29, 27, and 24. You see I'm leaving that white space. I fill that white space in with my lightest color, which is the R24. I'm going to go over it with the R59, which is R59 and R89 are my two favorite shading reds, and so then I blend that out a little bit using that R29. So my shadow is where the little puff of the hat is meeting the hat, so that little white section, and then where the hat is flopping over, and then underneath where that little hat flops underneath that side where it meets the ball. And then when I do come in and color the white part, the cottony part, I'm going to use some W markers. You see the little puffs, I'm going to draw those lines. I'm going to accentuate them a little bit more, and I'm going to use a W5 to do that. I'll blend that with a W3. Finally, I'll come in with a W0, and I will get a little bit of dimension and lift with that. Those bulbs I do color off camera. I'm going to be using some B markers. I use B18 and B13 to color the Christmas bulbs as well as the ornament. And for the holly, I wanted to make sure that I was bringing in that same YG90 combination. So I am using that on the little holly. For the little, what do you want to call them? The berries, I used R59 and R29. It's such a tiny space that those two were able to blend together beautifully. Now that tallest cacti, I think that's how you say it, cacti, right? Or you say cactus. I don't know. Leave me a comment and let me know. Those are colored in YG 61, 63, and 67. I am going to start building my scene here. I'm using my lightest E marker to draw in my sand. I always start light. I have not drawn very many scenes, so I am really trying to practice with this. This is maybe the second time I've done this. So I used an E30. I did shadowing underneath each of the cactus, and then I will bring in my darker marker, which is an E34. I will color that in, and then I'm going to blend in a little bit of the E31 and come back with an E30, I believe. Let me think about this. Yes, I think this is E31 maybe. I think and then I'm going to do some shadowing on the left and the right side of both of the cactuses. So that's where that deeper shadowing is going to come in. Right here, I'm just laying down the color. And here we go. Here I'm just accentuating where I want those shadows to be. I will take the E31 and blend it out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to come in with an E35 and I'm going to start adding some texture to my sand. So as I said, this is part of a hop. I am hopping with the grads of Team Tiny. If you type in the YouTube search engine, hashtag grads of Team Tiny winter, you will come up with all the participants in this hop. And I will also link it in the description box below, as well as Sean's Instagram information, her Etsy shop, and the Copic colors that I used. So here is that E35. And then I'm going to bring in the E31, and I'm going to continue to add texture and blend that together. I believe I went over the whole thing with the E31 after I laid down all of these dots, just to make sure that it softened some of those lines. Actually, it looks like I'm bringing in the E34. So I was happy with the way that this turned out. I'm going to move over to my sun. For the sun, I start with my lightest shade, I believe, which is Y32. I'm going to use Y38, 35, and 32. So I will start by drawing it out. The only thing that I would change on this scene, I love the way everything came out, but the only thing I would change is this section over here, on the left. I would have drawn that line down just a little bit behind the little itty bitty baby cactus and the one with the little buns. So that is the only thing that I would change in this scene. Otherwise, I was thrilled. If you noticed, I did not put this scene together. This was already created as a slimline image by Sean, and so it made it super quick and easy. I didn't have to do any thinking. I didn't have to put my own scene together other than what I'm drawing out. Everything was done for me. I am going to cut this out, as you can see right here, with Cat Scrappiness Zigzag Slimline. I believe that that is going to be 8 1/4 by 3 1/4. I will use a piece of Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock. I will cut it down just a 1/4 inch larger than this, and I will back that on that. My final card is going to be cut from poppy colored cardstock from Paper Tray Ink, and it's going to be 8 1/2 by 3 1/2. Here I started with some violet markers. I used a V1 and a V4, and then I laid down some B16. I went over that with my B01 to do a little bit of blending. It's either B01 or B00 to do a little bit of blending, and then I will come in and go over the whole thing with B4, I believe, and then I'll start really working on trying to get that blended out. There's my colorless blender. I thought maybe that it would soften some of the lines. It really didn't. As I said, I am not a Copic colorist. This is my first time mixing colors in the sky. I've tried just putting 1 or 2 colors down. I've never added the violet. I love the way that it turned out. As I said, practice is going to make perfect. So the more that I continue to push myself, the better that I will get at this. The other thing, there is a second thing that I thought about doing with this that I didn't do, and that is the sentiment. So that cute little sentiment that says, "Have yourself a merry little cactus." I really wanted to go over it with my multi-liner pen, but I didn't. I was afraid. I was so proud of the job that I did on this background that I didn't want to ruin it. And so I think that, you know, as I get better at it, the more that I practice, I will try to go over the letters with that multi-liner pen, but I didn't want to ruin it, and so I left it, and I could have been a little bit more darker than it is, but that's okay. I think in the big picture that it still turned out really nicely. I did not add any foam dimension to this at all. I am going to add a little bit of accenting or highlighting with my gel pen. I do use a number 10 gel pen, and I'm going to add just a few little flicks to add a little bit more interest to my scene. I am going to bring in some of the Nuvo clear gloss. I will have that listed in the description box below, and I'm going to put that over each of my light bulbs and the ornaments. So that also adds a little bit more texture to the card. So it's not really a 1-layer card because I did bring in the background paper, and I am mounting it onto another piece of cardstock. But for me, this is, you know, I don't do single layer cards very often. This is about as close as we're getting. There's no foam tape. So I'm going to say in Marla's world, this is a single layer card. I love the way that it turned out. As I said, it truly does represent the region that I'm from. I hope that you follow the other hoppers. Make sure that you leave a comment. Let them know that you appreciate the time that they took to create a video. We have some talented women on this team, and they deserve a little bit of love too. So here we go. I'm going to glue this down, and that is going to be my card for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to catch you in the next video. Until then, have a fabulous day.